Hello, students. Today we are going to talk about something that is a part of every single moment of our lives, water. We know it's essential, we know it's precious, but as we are about to see, the story of water is a little more complex than we might think. So, let's dive right in.
Now, have you ever thought about this? We always hear that our Earth is the blue planet. I mean, most of it is covered in water, right? So how is it possible that we read in the news and see on TV that there are water shortages? It seems like a puzzle, doesn't it? Well, today we are going to solve this puzzle together.
Before we get into the facts and figures, just take a moment to look at this image. This is a very common sight in many parts of our country, especially in places like Rajasthan. People, especially women, have to walk for long distances and then wait in these long queues just to collect water for their daily needs. This picture shows us that water scarcity is not just a concept in our textbooks. For many people, it is a hard daily reality.
So to understand this entire topic properly, we'll go step by step. First, we'll ask if Earth is really a planet of water. Then, we'll find out where our usable water is actually located. We will also look at nature's own fantastic recycling system. After that, we will define what water scarcity really is, look into why it happens, and at the end, we'll summarize all the key points.
All right, let's get started with our first section. Is Earth truly a planet of water? Let's look at the numbers.
Now, we all know this fact, don't we? About 75%, or 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered with water. That number sounds huge. It makes it seem like we have an endless supply of water. But, you know, that number by itself can be very misleading, and we're just about to find out why.
So, let's find out. Where is all this water really? Unpacking this is where we'll start to find the real answer to our big question.
Take a look at this chart. It tells the real story. A huge, massive 97.5% of all the water on Earth is saline water. It's the salt water in our oceans. We can't drink it and we can't use it to grow our crops. That leaves only a tiny 2.5% as freshwater. And here's the really surprising part. Most of even that small amount is frozen, locked away in glaciers and ice caps, so it's not easily available for us to use.
So, the very small amount of fresh water that we can actually use comes from two main sources. The first is called surface runoff. This is the water that you can see in our rivers, in our lakes, in our streams. You can think of it like the water flowing through the planet's pipelines. The second source is groundwater. This is the water that is stored deep under the ground, in the soil and rocks. Just imagine a giant natural storage tank hidden beneath our feet. We access this water using wells and hand pumps.
Now you might be wondering, if we are constantly using this small amount of fresh water, how does it get refilled? Well, nature has a wonderful recycling system for this. Let's understand the hydrological cycle.
The hydrological cycle is just nature's way of recycling water, and it's happening all the time. It all starts with evaporation. The heat from the sun warms up the water in oceans and lakes, and it turns into water vapor, which rises up into the sky. Then, as this vapor goes higher, it cools down and forms clouds. This step is called condensation. When the clouds get heavy with water, it falls back to the earth in the form of rain or snow. This is what we call precipitation. Finally, this rainwater flows over the land and into rivers. That's our surface runoff, or it seeps into the ground to refill our underground storage tanks. And just like that, the cycle starts all over again. And because of this continuous natural process, we say that water is a renewable resource. It is a resource that is constantly being renewed and recharged by nature itself. So, this brings us back to our main puzzle. If nature is always making new fresh water for us, then why do we see those long queues for water that we saw in the photograph? Why do we have water shortages? Let's move to our main topic and understand what water scarcity actually is. So, what exactly is water scarcity? In simple words, it is a shortage of water. For your exams, the precise definition is, it is a situation where the demand for water, that is, how much water people need, is more than the available supply of water in that area.
And it's important to remember that this scarcity is not the same everywhere or at all times. It varies over space. For example, a place like Rajasthan in our country receives very little rainfall, while a state like Meghalaya receives a lot of rain. It also varies over time. In India, we get most of our rain during the monsoon season, while the other months are quite dry. So very often, water scarcity is linked to these natural differences in rainfall.
But low rainfall is not the only reason. In fact, in many cases, water scarcity is a man-made problem. So let's now unpack the real causes behind it. The causes are often many and connected to each other. We are going to look at some of the biggest reasons, like our large and growing population, the huge amount of water needed for farming and for our industries, unequal access to water, and of course, a very important issue, water pollution.
Let's start with population. It's quite simple, really. A large and growing population means more people need water for their daily use, for drinking, cooking, washing. But that's not all. More people also means we need to grow more food. And agriculture, our farming sector, is the biggest user of water.
Now, to grow more crops, especially in the dry seasons, farmers depend on irrigation. Many farmers have dug their own wells or tube wells on their farms to pump out groundwater. This leads to something called overexploitation. When everyone starts pumping out too much water, the level of the groundwater starts falling deeper and deeper, and this can lead to serious water shortages. And it's not just happening on farms. After independence, India has seen a lot of industrialization and urbanization. Our industries need a lot of water. And as our cities are growing bigger, the urban lifestyles also demand more water. You might have seen that many large housing societies in cities have their own groundwater pumps to meet their water needs. This also leads to the overexploitation and falling of groundwater levels in our cities.
Now, here is a very, very important idea to understand. Sometimes, water scarcity is not about the quantity of water, that is, how much water is available. Sometimes, it is about the quality of water. There might be a place with a lot of water in its rivers and lakes, but if that water is polluted with chemicals from factories or pesticides or sewage, it becomes dangerous and cannot be used. This is called qualitative scarcity.
This picture from Kolkata shows this point perfectly. The area is flooded. There is water everywhere you look. And yet, this boy has to collect clean drinking water from a separate source. Why? Because all the floodwater around him is contaminated. It's dirty and unsafe to drink. This is a powerful example of how you can have plenty of water, but still face scarcity because the quality is poor.
We have covered a lot of ground today, so let's just take a moment to summarize everything that we have learned. This will help you to revise the main points.
So, let's quickly recap. First, even though Earth is the blue planet, most of its water is salty ocean water, which we cannot use. Second, our fresh water is a renewable resource, thanks to the continuous water cycle. Third, water scarcity is when the demand for water is more than the supply. Fourth, the main causes are often man-made, things like population growth, agriculture, industry, and pollution. And finally, a very important point to remember, scarcity is not just about quantity or not having enough water. It can also be about quality or having polluted water.
Water scarcity is a very serious problem, but understanding why it happens is the first and most important step towards solving it. So I will leave you with this question to think about. Now that you know the causes, what is one small step that you can take in your own daily life to help conserve this precious resource? Thank you for listening.